So you like to create some cognitive dissonance on Saturdays.
I'll act one way that's safe, so it allows me to be more aggressive verbally. So just making note of how things are different or expanding the contrast creates amplification, intensification, strengthening of the feeling. And that's part of leadership. I think one of the pointers of leadership is you want to balance short-term and long-term time frames.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
You don't want to be so long-term that people don't care. You have to make it somewhat short-term to get urgency, to get some excitement, get some fire going. But then that needs to also be within the context of long-term so people don't get freaked out by short-term. So you
Okay.
balance these two time frames.
So what aspects of this contrast are showing up for you?
Well, I'm trying to work on a more meatier theme of cognitive dissonance for tomorrow.
Okay,
I'm trying to simplify it for the masses.
found
What's
it.
your understanding of that? Maybe we'll see if we can build a
My
bridge there.
understanding is that if you want to change someone's mind, so if you want to change someone else's mind, then you show the contradictions to them, and that encourages them to try to make some higher synthesis of two things that contradict. And when you hold two things that contradict at the same time and try to reconcile them, you end up with a kind of a release of energy. It's a growth point, a learning time.
Okay,
That's my
nice.
understanding. Does that tell you anything different from what, or does it
Well, my understanding is more so the negative side of cognitive dissonance.
negative side? Okay.
So when you have cognitive dissonance, you have two contrasting beliefs that your
Mm-hmm.
brain can't make sense of, and it creates a negative feeling or anxiety because the brain has trouble holding opposites at the same time.
Yes.
So someone who's in a cult, they believe the world's going to end, and then they believe it with all their heart. But then reality happens, and the world didn't end. You would think that reality would override their belief, but a lot of those people continue to dig in harder with their belief, in spite of reality disproving their hard belief, because
Okay.
the belief of what they think versus what they see. So what they think and what they see, when it's too different, that creates dissonance. And then
And
people need to choose one or the other.
okay, so the dissonance is uncomfortable. Is it a growth point?
What is a growth point if you can take your belief and update it to reality and learn
Yes.
from it. So you
Yes.
have
Yes.
one grander belief, one bigger scale
Yes.
belief. That's the growth point. But that's hard. That's uncomfortable. That's where people tend to just fall back to their beliefs or just jump into the new belief. So some people jump into a new belief and forget what they did.
So you've got this understanding of cognitive dissonance, and thank you for putting out the way you look at it. How are you going? How do you see a way to apply that understanding? Is there
But
a
we do it
useful way?
already. So that's where I'm trying to build a link that we're constantly playing with cognitive dissonance already. We just make note of it when it really feels bad.
Okay. So is it something that you observe yourself doing, and maybe me doing, and people in your Saturday group doing? And
We're
what? How,
responding to cognitive dissonance. So
yeah.
Eugene mentioned last week that it seemed like I was a disruptor in the meeting because in a sense
Uh-huh.
sometimes I induce cognitive dissonance. So I'll say
Yes.
something and I'll do something different. So I'll be relaxed, calm, and
Yeah.
fun, but I'll say something highly aggressive. And then the YouTube commenters will see what I'm saying highly aggressive and take that personally because they're not seeing the mood of the room, which is opposite what I'm saying. So I'll act one way that's safe, so it allows me to be more aggressive verbally.
Okay. So you like to create some cognitive dissonance on Saturdays. Is
It
that right? You create it by by being one way but talking another way.
by exaggerating the difference, which
Yes.
makes it interesting, it makes it captivating, it makes it sort of unpredictable. But it also neutralizes cognitive dissonance. Because a lot of the people in the group got abused by cognitive dissonance. So I'm trying to
Uh,
discharge the
okay.
judgment that
Oh, okay.
anything that's dissonant is dangerous.
So you're trying to allow people to experience the dissonance without it being threatening.
Yes, because they've been
Okay.
programmed that it's threatening. So they just want
Okay.
everything to be the same. But that's not reality. That's dull.
So you're making the world better for these people. You're making them more resilient.
Yes, that's my goal, and I tell them this. But until they get the experience of it, it doesn't
Wow.
sink in.
Wow. Okay. You're giving them a gift.
Also, I can do another technique. So sometimes,
Yeah.
like Eugene gave you the technique of saying, when you talk to yourself, think about how you talk to a friend, for the inner critic.
Yes. Okay.
I might like take your inner critic and I would exaggerate it. So I would take your inner critic, act out harshly on you, and I'd add light emotional tone. So I'd speak in harsh tone, but I'd act
Yeah.
out in
Yeah.
childlike
Yeah.
stupidity. And I just present that to you to try to
Wow.
discharge the inner critic energy.
How do you? I'm intrigued. How do you um, develop these techniques, which seem quite they seem very imaginative to me. How do you get to that the point where you're thinking I'm gonna do this technique with these people?
A lot of it's from marketing. So sales
Uh,
and marketing economics, they're on the forefront of psychology because they want to make money.
okay,
Academic psychology wants to release papers, so it's slow and cloggy.
yeah, yeah,
Marketing has money, so if they sell more products,
okay.
they're going to hack people's psychology, just like YouTube
So
and social media.
so does some of this ingenuity you have with working with people comes from your Amway
Yes, from
experience?
Amway and learning
Okay,
self-help and just trying things
okay,
that work, didn't work, see what these people did, and try to
yeah,
get
okay,
results.
good, good,
But now I'm trying to teach the masses, and cognitive dissonance is one angle. So can
yeah,
I teach these in some sort of framing? Teach people how to elicit cognitive dissonance, to
yeah.
introduce new ideas, to create receptivity, to change patterns.
Is that it? Oh
See,
gosh.
I said time distortion and it happened. I called it.
It happened. It happened. That time went so fast.
Yeah, that went very fast. I think it was a very engaging conversation, and I like the sort of animation of the, and to me, that's one way for me to get sort of the temperature of the session, how passionate the client is, how in tune they are, and look at this alignment with the coach. So I think it was a good exchange of information. At the same time, Peter, you provided Div with space to express himself well, and by the time the conversation was about to end, I have this almost like a sigh of relief that it was like an arc of a story that came to an end,
Hmm.
almost as if he um,
Work the
um,
clock.
yeah, yeah, he was able to to put everything he has in his heart out, so which is great. Perfect.
That's
I must say,
storytelling technique to try to break things up into 3 acts, dramatize
yeah,
between 2 and 3, and then summarize in the third.
Yeah.
Mm.
What was I going to? I was just thinking something. I know what I was thinking. I was thinking, what a pleasure it is, Dee, to get to know you well enough that I feel like I can kind of begin to see how some of those things that you've done in your life sort of fit together, like the Amway and the cognitive dissonance, and your desire to help people deal with stress and to make life more satisfying by giving people techniques, by practicing them in a session, and then giving them, as it were, a gift of understanding of a technique or a situation, so that they can be more resilient.
Mm. So this was also a good session because I was able to test out new material, and Peter was able to follow. And not just that, he's able to reflect back and get a better feel for not just the arc of this session, but the arc of my life. So you have
The
a story
archetype,
that covers
yeah, yeah.
this session that links to another session that links to the broader
Mhm.
session, which is really hard storytelling.
Wow.
Yes.
Awesome. That's great.
So this theme could contribute to Eugene's book also, because
Yeah.
this whole coaching session is just a tool to write Eugene's book.
Yeah.
For Eugene, which
Well,
is
I
a
hope
form
so.
of cognitive dissonance, and I'm giving him status elevation that doesn't match him to get his attention. We can constantly use exaggerations and distortions to make things interesting.